Welcome to Ultimate Par-fection.
Episode 2, Strokes Gained Explained. Hello and welcome to Episode 2 of Ultimate Par-fection. I've got a little bit to talk about in today's episode, including a really cool app that I've stumbled across. I heard about it in an interview, and I'll share that with you in a little bit. But firstly, I'll go to the course. This was my latest round after my recording my first episode. I went back out to Kauri Cliffs, played another 18 there, and sort of broke it down on the course in thirds. So the first 6 holes, then holes 7 to 12, and then 13 to 18 with a little bit of a wrap up. So that's where I'll kick this episode off with holes 1 to 6. All right, so I'm 1/3 of the way through this course. Started off very promising. Par, both 1 putts. It was a tap-in par for the first one. Drained a 4-footer for the second par. And then it sort of went a bit downhill on hole 3 when it's a short par 4, index 18, so easiest hole on the course, and hit a 4-iron off the tee and just shanked it. So I lost the ball there, had to take a drop. And then to compound the problems, I 3-putted, so that was a triple. And then the fourth, again, I was near greenside for 2 on a par 5, and should have put the chip a little bit closer, and then ended up 3-putting. So that was a disappointing bogey, which could have easily been a birdie or at least a par, but 3-putt for bogey. And then on the 5th, saved par, well, didn't save par, it was routine par on the green, par 3, 2-putt. And then the 6th, a double bogey. Went into the thick stuff, had to just kind of punch it out of the fescue as a recovery shot. And missed a 5-footer for bogey, and wasn't an easy putt, but still costly. So it's time to regroup here. I'm at the 7th, par 3, 160 meters, wind coming off the coast. So it's not going to be easy, but let's see how we go on this third. Well, we'll take a quick break. It was a pretty rubbish first third, not going to lie. So it's probably a good time to jump into this app that I was telling you about. And it's an app called Golf Metrics, and it's designed by Mark Brody. So if you're unfamiliar with who Mark Brody is, he's the brains behind the strokes gain theory that's widely used on various tours around the world, and a real integral part of how they measure the best players in the world. It's a little bit more advanced than the traditional stats like hitting greens in regulation, number of putts, things like that. And what's even better is that Mark has created this app so us everyday hackers can analyze our own golf game and then use it to improve different aspects of our game. And look, I'll be the first one to admit the app looks like it's straight out of a 1980s gaming console. It doesn't look pretty. It's not flash. And to be honest, I don't think he cares about that. It's not designed to look pretty. It's really just there to provide us with useful data. I'll do the best I can to try and explain what the strokes theory gained is and how we can actually use it in our day-to-day golfing. So imagine yourself standing on the tee box of a par 4, and it's a somewhat difficult par 4 with a scoring average of 4.2, and that scoring average is relative to your benchmark. So if you want to be a scratch golfer, that 4.2 is the average score amongst all scratch golfers for this hole. So 4.2 is how far away you are from the hole. Whether that's 400 meters or 340 meters, it doesn't matter. We want to try and adjust our thinking here. So instead of measuring how many meters we are away from the hole or yards, we are measuring by how many strokes away we are from the hole. So to summarize this, it's progress to the hole measured in strokes. Now back to the tee box at 4.2 strokes away from the hole. And let's say you hit an average tee shot, you should be 3.2 strokes away from the hole for your next shot. Now, let's say you've pipe the drive up the middle of the fairway, 270 meters, and you're now 3 strokes away rather than 3.2 strokes away from the hole. So you went from 4.2 strokes to 3 strokes. You've now got 1.2 strokes closer to the hole, but it took you 1 swing to do it. So you're 2/10 or 0.2 strokes better than your benchmark, and therefore you've gained 0.2 strokes. Now, on the flip side of that, let's say you spray your tee shot, it's gone 200 meters into the rough, and you're now 3.5 strokes away from the hole for your second shot. You've taken 1 swing hoping to go from 4.2 to 3.2, although you've only got to 3.5. So therefore, you've lost 0.3 strokes with that shorter drive that's ended up in the rough. The strokes the strokes gain theory takes into account the lie. So whether it's in the fairway, rough, deep rough, sand, whether you're on the green. So all these factors contribute in the benchmark of what the average number of strokes to hole out for your comparison group. Like as Mark says in his interview, it's nothing new. It's very intuitive. You know when you're on the golf course, if you've hit a 270 meter drive down the middle of the fairway, that's a good shot. You know that if you hit a tree, it's not a great shot. You're not gaining anything. This is just a way of quantifying that and measuring this in terms of data and how we can use it to get better and really dial in on different parts of our game. If you are on the tee box and let's say you just have an air swing, you completely miss the ball. You've then lost 1 stroke. So you're still 4.2 strokes away from the hole, but you've taken 1 swing. So that's -1. Let's say you hit your tee shot out of bounds. That's going to be a loss of 2 strokes because you've hit it out of bounds. You're reloading. You're hitting number 3 off the tee. So therefore, you're from the same distance and same number of strokes away from the hole. So then your strokes gained is therefore -2 for that shot. I hope that explanation gives you a bit more of an understanding of how the strokes gain theory works. I know every time I watch golf tournaments on TV, I never really understood exactly what it meant. Obviously, you can kind of figure out if it's, this guy's +1 strokes gained in putting, he's probably a good putter, but I never really understand how it was calculated until I listened to this interview with Mark. So that was pretty cool, and I'm sure you guys could find it if you really wanted to. Just search Mark Brody strokes gain theory explained, and I'm sure it'll pop up somewhere on the internet there for you. But yeah, I think it's really cool that we can actually use it and figure out what aspects of our game need improvement. And what the app also tells you is if you don't necessarily like the numbers of plus 0.2 gained for my drive or minus 0.4 for my chipping, it actually gives you what your respective handicap is for that round or even a group of rounds. So it might say for your drive, if you're driving it really well, you're a 5 handicapper or a +1 handicap. And then your putting, it might be you're putting like an 18 handicap. So you can look at this and really sort of work out, okay, I need to spend more time on my putting. If I'm going to get down to a scratch ground, I need to focus and put more of my attention into this rather than my drive. So it is quite cool. The old traditional metrics of measuring success on the golf course, such as number of putts, greens in regulation, I mean, they're still great. I mean, they give you a bit of an indication of how well your round is, but it also can be a little bit flawed. Like, for example, greens in regulation, for the past 150 years, that's been the traditional stat of success. If you've hit all your greens in regulation, you're going to have a good round. But it doesn't necessarily give you an indication of how your ball striking was. So if you missed the green by 3 feet or 30 meters, it doesn't really tell you how close you were. It's like yes or no. And so that therefore changes the number of putts as well. So I could have put it really close to the green. I might be hitting the ball really well, but not hitting the green. And then I've just chipped it close and I'm one putting everything. So I might have 28 putts in the round and have a really bad putting day. Whereas I might, therefore, on my next round, I'll hit 33 or 32 putts and have a really good putting day because I was hitting the green, but I was further away from the hole. So the strokes gain theory will essentially, if you're looking at putting, for example, it will calculate your distance from the hole in relation to every other golfer. So if you're 1 foot away from the hole and you sink that putt, you don't gain anything because that's expected that you're going to make that putt. If you go back to an 8-foot putt and you make that, you might gain 0.5 strokes because the average golfer, to your benchmark, takes 1.5 strokes from 8 feet. Then we go back to 30 feet and you drain that 30-foot putt. You might gain 1 full stroke because the average person will take 2 strokes to sink that, to get it in from 30 feet. So over the course of a round, let's say you sink 3 8-foot putts, that's going to be 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. You've then gained 1.5 strokes gained for your putting. A little bit confusing, but once you sort of understand it, especially if you're using the app and it tells you what your handicap is, it makes it very simple to read. So this is not like a paid promotion or anything like that. I'm just saying it's a really cool app that I stumbled across. So yeah, if you want to check it out for yourselves, I would definitely recommend it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, anyway, we'll jump into this second third of my round at Kauri Cliffs now, and then I'll share a little bit of my data from the Golf Metrics app. And it was quite eye-opening, so we'll get into that in a minute. Just completed the second third of this round, and it went a little bit better than the first. The 7th hole, I pulled the tee shot on the par 3, and I had a very difficult second shot. It was just all downhill, no green to work with, and then the green sloped away. My only option was to hit a high flop and try to get as close to the pin as possible, and miraculously I pulled it off to 3 feet and tapped it in for a par. I like to pride myself on my flop shots, but sometimes it's a bit of a detriment because you try to do it too often and it's not necessary. But anyway, I pulled that one off and it was one of the best ones I've hit, so I was very happy with that. And then bogeyed the 8th, which, yeah, probably could have parred that one. 9th, beautiful drive down the center of the fairway, left myself with a short pitch, 2-putt for par. The 10th, not a great tee shot, went left, like into a hazard, so had to take a drop, and then ended up 3-putting as well. So that was a double, not good. Bogey 11, and then the 12th, par 3, probably the best iron shot I've hit today. It was a 7-iron, 160 meters, and just sort of landed on the fringe. I thought it was going to be on the green, but it was on the fringe, about 5 meters from the pin. Rolled the putt pretty close, about 2 feet, and then just tapped it in for par. So that's where we're at through 12. Got the last third coming up, which is definitely my favorite third on this golf course. Very scenic, some challenging holes on the stretch, but should be a bit of fun. All right, we're back off the course now, and that second third was slightly better, although nothing to write home about. But did I turn it around on the last 6 holes? Well, we'll find that out shortly. But firstly, here's a snapshot of my data from using the Golf Metrics app. I've only played 3.5 rounds using this app so far, so I don't have a huge data pool to collect from. But over time, this will obviously change, and I can use it to focus on different areas. And you may remember from episode 1, that self-assessment I did where I said I needed to address my approach game. I'm really curious to see what the data shows and how that stacks up against my driving, chipping, and putting. I did spend a little bit of time on the practice range working on my approaches and my pitching, and also went out to one of the holes and just spent about an hour hitting from that 60, 80, and 100 meters. So hopefully that has helped improve my approach game. But let's see how we did from these 3.5 rounds. I only got to play 9 for one of them. But let's have a look. Okay, so my driving, I am driving like a handicap of 5. My approach is 13, which is better than what I expected. Short game is 14, and then putting is 19. That is a bit surprising, but yeah, I guess I haven't really putted that well, and I'm still trying to figure out these greens. All of these rounds that I've used the data for is at Kauri Cliffs, and the greens are pretty challenging, to be fair, but still, that needs to get a lot better if I'm trying to shoot a round of even par. I can't be putting like a handicap of 19. That's just atrocious. But we can go into it a little bit further. So let's specifically, we'll go into approach shots. So I am the worst off from that 100 to 150. I am losing minus 2.87 shots per round from 100 to 150 meters. That's not great. So obviously I need to keep working on my wedges and my approach game to try and get that a little bit better. Greens in regulation per round, 4.33. Fairways hit, 40%. So that's pretty good. Going into you can actually have a look at the handicap broken down into the different distances as well. So if we go into the subcategories of the approach, 100 to 150, I'm a handicap of 22. 22. Jeez, that's bad. From 150 to 200, a handicap of 3. So that's my long irons, which I always know that's a strength of my game. From 200 to 250, a handicap of 13. And from 250 meters plus, I'm a plus 3 handicap. So that's great. Short game overall is a handicap 14, but from 0 to 20, handicap of 3. 20 to 60 is a handicap of 5. And 60 to 100 is a handicap of 33. Well, that is not good. But at least I know, I've always known that is a weakness in my game. That, that approach shot where it's the wedges, they're killing me. So that is, I'll obviously need to keep working on that. And if I can bring that down, get myself a little bit closer to the pin with my putting, that will help. And hitting more greens from that distance as well. There's no excuse that you should be missing a green from 60 meters, to be honest. Putting overall, like I said, it's a handicap of 19. From 0 to 6, a handicap of 11. From 7 to 21 feet is 32. And how about this one? From 22 feet plus, a handicap of 35. That's laughable. So obviously I haven't made any putts from that range, but I'm sure if I nail 1 or 2 from that range, that figure will drop, I assume. And as I gather more data, maybe play on courses that don't have as tricky greens as well, that will help, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse for now. As I continue to document more and more rounds, that data's going to change, and I'll be recording when I'm out on the course as much as I can. And when I do record my podcast, I will try to include some of the data just from that single round and share that with you, as well as, every few episodes, just a collective group of rounds, and use that data and see how I've improved in different aspects, what's fallen off, things like that. But now we are going to finish with this round at Kauri Cliffs. Let's go to the final 6 holes, and we'll find out if I was able to turn it around or not. Okay, so that wraps up my 18. I've just finished the last third. So pretty happy with the last third, those last 6 holes that I played. 13, par 4, parred that one with 1 putt. Then onto the 14th, it's playing a little bit shorter than it usually is because the back tee box is out of play.
but still hit the green, 2-putted for par. 15th, one of my favourite holes on this course. I piped my drive. It was one of the best drives I hit all day. Went about 280, and it's par 5. Left myself with 190 or 185 into the green, and actually went through the green with my 5-iron, and ended up sort of chipping it close to the hole and sinking the putt for a birdie. So happy with that. And then 16, again, another really nice drive. This one's sort of downhill, really fun hole. You can, if you've got a big enough drive, you can really attack the green. I know it's par 4 and it's 300 from the whites. It's 323 meters, but it sort of goes downhill and kind of slope like dog legs to the left a little bit. So the hole is called Temptation, and it's perfectly named because it tempts you to go for the green. But if you want to have a little bit of a bailout to the right hand side, you can, and you're going to hit the fairway, and it's going to sort of slope down thereabouts anyway, which is sort of what I did. I went a little bit right of the green, got a little bit of run, and just ended up sort of just in the rough, probably I think 15 to 20 meters from the pin, and then chipped that on 2-putt for a par. And then, so if you're following along at home, that is 1 under through those 4 holes to start the last third of the course. And then I come to index 1, the 17th, and put my drive to the right, and it's in the deep stuff. Like, I walked over my ball looking for it probably 3 or 4 times until I finally spotted it. It was buried in the fescue, and I did the best I could just to hack it anywhere up the fairway or just out of the rough, and still couldn't do that. I only hacked it about 6 meters, still in the fescue, but at least gave myself a slightly better lie, and then hit it the best I could, as close to the green as I could from there. And anyway, ended up being a triple bogey, and finished the 18th par 5 with a par. So I was 2 over through that last 6, just with the one blowout hole, which was a triple. So overall, I'm pretty happy with that, and the scorecard ended up being an 84. So 12 over, which is about my handicap, and from this on this course with a slope rating of 138, I'm actually pretty pleased with that. Obviously, a couple of holes that I do need to clean up. There's 2 triple bogeys, a double or 2. So if I can get those out of my game, I'm looking pretty good. 43 on the front 9 and 41 5 over on the back. So room for improvement, but overall, not too disappointed with that.
So there you have it, an 84, finishing with 2 over for that last 6 holes, 4 pars, a birdie, and the dreaded triple on 17. So a lot of positives to take away from that. Obviously, still need to keep grinding. There's a lot I need to work on if I'm able to shoot a round of even par. Still got just over a year to do it as well. So, plenty of time, no excuses. Got to keep working on it and get out there, have a bit of fun as well. That's the main thing. Alrighty, that's a wrap for episode 2 of Ultimate Par-fection. Hope you all enjoyed hearing a bit more about the strokes gain theory and the Golf Metrics app. Please head over to my Instagram account at Ultimate Par-fection to give it a follow, like, and share with your mates. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you've tried using the Golf Metrics app as well, or if you use any other apps or tools that you would recommend to help me and other people improve their golf game. I'd love to hear it. Also might need some putting tips as well if you've got them. I'm extremely excited about the upcoming content I have for you guys, including a very special guest joining me and a couple of rounds I've played recently at some iconic golf courses, not just in New Zealand, but also overseas. One in South Carolina as a little bit of a hint there. So thank you all for listening. I really appreciate the support. Stay tuned for episode 3. It's coming out soon. And until then, I'll catch you later.